Please rise for silent invocation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Foley? Councilman Gephardt?
Here.
Councilman Green?
Here.
Vice Mayor Grubbs? Mayor Stiltner?
Here, we do have a quorum of 3 tonight. Item 4, any public comments on consent agenda items only? Public comments on consent agenda, seeing none. Let me get a motion to approve consent agenda items 5. What do we got there?
6, 7, 8.
5 through 8.
Yep.
Looks like.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
We do have a resolution on there. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes, 3-0. Brings us to public participation. Were these the only 2 we have tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Rob Sabatino. Hey, Rob, come on up. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Rob Sabatino. I own some property over in the Springwood Square, Willow Lake area. And really, I understand the mayor and the city council, and the 2 that aren't here are the ones that are our elected officials. But city manager, you are the operational person that runs things. And our HOA there has been reporting that a lot of people have been getting denied permits based on this 50% valuation type of thing. And the HOA itself has been denied a permit 3 times for their fence, which has been there like 30 years, and they can't get it replaced. And if we can't repair our homes from the last 2 floods, what is going to happen to this neighborhood? I've been to the workshops. I talked to the city engineer, Juno, and all the projects that you guys want to do will not affect that area at all. That's what he told me. The Pepper Hill one will not help Springwood Square. And the only thing that's happening is the whole neighborhood, which is a high density neighborhood, which is about 200 families, is just deteriorating. So I don't know what the city plans on doing for that area, but something needs to be done for at least the fact that the homeowners should be able to repair their homes. There's homes there that are still damaged from the first hurricane in 2022. Holes in the roof, blue tarps. It's still happening. And I understand the whole FEMA 50% valuation part of it, but if we can't fix it, you're just going to have a neighborhood deteriorate. So I really hope that you can reach out to our HOA and speak to them. I've emailed all of you prior from the last workshop, so I can email you their contact information. But something needs to be done, because not even to replace a fence that was damaged in the hurricane for 3.5 years. They've been denied a permit 3 different times. Me personally, it feels like this is a way to squeeze people out of that area, to turn it from a high density neighborhood to a low density neighborhood with the types of people that just companies that come in and buy homes at low prices because we can't do anything with them. And that's what's happening in there. So I really hope that's taken into consideration, because there's a lot of people there that are just getting by. And it's not just people like me. I just happen to have the home because I inherited it. But it's a working class neighborhood that needs a lot of help. Thank you.
Hey, Rob, do you have the primary contact for that HOA with you?
Yeah.
Can you just write it on this card and give it to the clerk? And she can send it over to the city manager.
Thank you.
Am I causing all that beeping?
Here, you can use mine.
Button wasn't
Thank you.
working.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Cassandra Rose, Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
evening. I'm with Cassandra Rhodes. I'm with the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to kind of approach everyone tonight and say thank you for, once again, for all of the continued support, not only for the chamber, but also just in the community. We just recently had our annual golf tournament this past weekend. That went really well. This week, we actually kicked off our youth leadership program as well. We also have our golf league starting tomorrow at 4 p.m. at Cypress Head. Then on Thursday, we're actually having our mega mixer, which conspires with not only our locations here, but also other chambers throughout the area and community partners, which will be there at Emory-Riddle Student Center from 4 until 7 p.m. And everyone is welcome to that, general public as well. And it's basically just to get to meet folks, chat, and learn about the local businesses, and just make those connections. Also on Friday then, we do have our Mix and Mingle at Riverside Pavilion, which is being hosted by the Halifax Sport Fishing Club, which is also housed there at that same location. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you for everything. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. On to section D, council comments. We'll start with you, Councilman Green.
Oh, ready? Okay.
You're there already.
I don't have a lot under comments other than I just wanted to report that we've been putting cameras up in our parks and in our bathroom buildings around the city, and we've already arrested somebody for vandalizing a bathroom and breaking the camera, but he was caught. And so I want to commend the police department for some good work on that, and to let people know, you tear up city property, you're gonna get caught. And then we got cameras going on now, and we have the ability to hopefully stop it. So other than that, I'm good.
So I just want to say thank you for the team over at Cypress Head, the golf tournament that was put on by the chamber. That facility is fantastic. You guys did a great job. We had some weather early on. You held us off, and we ended up having a beautiful day, and the golf course is in fantastic shape for all the water that it's recently had. But it just, and I golf around, and I'll tell you, I golfed up in Palm Coast on Monday, and they don't hold a candle to what we have in Cypress Head, and I was bragging about it. So for a golf course that's owned by a city, you guys are doing a fantastic job, so keep it up. Outside of that, I just don't have anything going on right now, so
Very
that's
good. Just a couple of things for me. One, to talk about what Councilman Green just spoke about. We've never really had a general discussion up here, but since there's three of us tonight, this should be pretty easy to give consensus direction to not only the city attorney's office, but also the city manager's office, that I think it's our intention, if people damage city property, we expect investigations and restitution through the court process, right?
Mhm.
Because, you know, and I'm sure we're doing that already, but, you know, that should be the direction of the council, that they know they have our support to seek restitution, whether it's there's a car crash and they tear up a bunch of landscaping in the median, or they tear up a parks area, or tear up city property, wherever that may be. The city is the victim, the taxpayers are the victim, and I know that the state attorney's office, you know, as long as we are proactively making sure we're sending through the notifications of, we do expect restitution as part of any plea agreements or penalty phases or anything like that. So just throwing that out there. Just wanted to comment, the Memorial Day event that we had here at City Center was absolutely fabulous. We had a beautiful breeze. It was very well attended. Lots of organizations involved, VFW, our volunteers, Parks and Rec staff, police, fire, a lot of folks involved in the community. But what a really, really great event that was super well attended. So hopefully everybody had a great Memorial Day, and that was a really nice event to have there. So that's all I've got for right now. How about the city attorney's office? Anything tonight from the city attorney's office?
Nothing, thank you.
Come on. No, I'm just kidding. City manager's office.
I didn't have anything extra, but Mr. Sabatino left, but I did want to let you know we'll have
community development staff, get in touch with them. Do want to make it clear that the FEMA 50% substantial damage issue doesn't prevent us from issuing permits to make structures livable. There are permits for livable. Certain things that people are doing that are improvements to the home, if you want to do major work inside or replace bathrooms, that's different. But to be in the National Flood Insurance Program, to be a part of the CRS that allows the savings on the insurance, that's where we are not allowed to issue those permits for something beyond making the homes livable. The issue with the fence there is it crosses multiple properties, and so there has to be a permit for each one of the properties. So it's a more complex permit. I'm not sure that everybody understands that. So that it's a challenge to do when you've got to get 20 people to agree to a fence permit. So, but we'll have the staff contact them just to let you know that's what's going on.
And I'm gonna have to touch on one more topic here in a second, but I would just reiterate that anybody that has gotten any of those letters or has any of those concerns that are specific to them, please, if you don't understand something or you need clarification or you need help, reach out to the city staff. They can give you the answers. In some cases, none of us may like the answers. We may not like them and the homeowners may not like them, but at least we can give you the facts and the answers and the information that you need. Wayne, can you also comment on the last letter that went out with regards to the requirement for insurance you know what I'm talking about?
We annually, as part of being in the CRS program, so the federal government is the one who backs all this. So the money ultimately comes down from them, either through the state or to us, to help people when storms create damage. And what they don't want to do is keep repairing the same structures over and over again. So a lot of what they're trying to do is mitigate the amount of cost. So when we're in the program, they basically tell us, we expect you as the local government to do things to help your people lower the possibility of being damaged. So they make us, is a way to get points that allow us to get to the higher levels of insurance savings. One of the things you have to do is send a letter to people saying you're in a flood zone, you should have flood insurance, or somebody around you has flooded. So there's letters that go out that say, they're basically just trying to remind people of ways to limit their damage when it happens. So the last letter just went out and said, you're in an area that's prone to flooding, it's a recommendation that you get flood insurance. It's something that's part of that program. You don't have to do that. It's just a way to try to help people think about it.
And those letters have been going out for years.
We have been doing them for over a decade, I think.
Yeah. So
Before the hurricane started hitting us, they were trying to do that.
Perfect. Just to touch base on, I appreciate you touching base on that. So that's the one thing is, a lot of times, you know, the city is the face of something that is actually a requirement from either state or federal government, and we have to abide by that, or it will impact us all of us, in a very negative way. So a lot of times when you see that, it's, you know, because I hear all the time, the city. Well, okay, it's on our letterhead, but there's a requirement for us to do that, to be in compliance, so that we can have the other benefits that benefit the entire city as a whole. So, in any regard.
Mayor, excuse me, can you turn your mic on, please?
You want to be able to hear me? Oh, there you go. Perfect, thank you. Let me turn an extra one on. All right, item 12, reports from Kemper Sports on Cypress Head Golf Course. I hear there's a really good event coming up, man.
great
Better be
event.
top
11
notch. Get a
You
little.
ought to attend that one.
Oh, you know what? I tell you what, I'll come out and check it out. Welcome.
Good evening,
Good to see
Mayor,
you.
members of council. I'm Jeff Dayton, General Manager at Cypress Head Golf Club. Tonight I'm going to report on the months of February, March, and April financially. They were good months. We had a good season, busy season, good snowbird groups here this season, and the course remained in great shape. So, you know, February and March were great months. We pretty much did 200 plus rounds every day. We added 13,000 to the bottom line in February. We added another 10 in March, and another $1,000 in April. So year to date, our revenues were 1.56 million, which is under budget actually by 36,000, but similar to last year. Our payroll's under by 8,000. Our operating expenses are under. We're being managed closely, and overall, our bottom line we're ahead by 41,000 through April. So we look to continue that with a good, solid golf course. Our golf course is, as you've seen, is the best around. So we hope to continue with the trend of filling the tee sheet up with the summer crowds, and got 4 months now to finish off the budget. So looking forward to hosting your event in 11 days. So we're all set for that, and that's going to shape up nice. Just need some nice weather, and we'll be good. Our rounds so far this year were just under 31,000, which is under budget by 1,000, but over previous year. So rounds are still decent. Teams performing well. Our NPS score, which is the Net Promoter Score, is still in the mid-90s, 93.6 over the last 3 months, which is very good. Course conditions are 9.2, service satisfaction 9.8. So all those are great numbers. Course highlights, Memorial Day weekend, we just had the Folds of Honor, Hero 100. We collected money for the Folds of Honor. And myself and Kevin Aylwin and Dylan Contrell played 100 holes on Tuesday after Memorial Day. And I'm still recovering, but we raised $3,500 for the Folds of Honor, so that was a nice
Awesome.
effort.
Nice.
And that'll all benefit the families of first responders and deceased servicemen and women. So that's a great cause. We just hosted a nice youth-on course junior golf clinic sponsored by the Bank of America last week at Cypress Head. We had about 30 kids come on a bus, and we had Maurice Allen, a former long drive champion, come out and do a little demonstration. So that was nice exposure for some kids that don't really get around the golf course very much. So that was fun. And we're looking forward to a busy summer. We got our first junior camp starting next week, another one the following week. We have the drive, chip, and putt coming up June 23rd. We have 115 kids signed up for that event. And if anybody wants to volunteer for that event, we are looking for a few more volunteers for June 23rd to help out with that event. But things are going great. Like I said, your tournament's coming up 11 days. We're going to start a bunker renovation. We just had 2 bids come in, so we're going to start that probably in September. They're going to decide on who they're going to select there based on the most responsive and responsible. And we're looking forward to getting that project started, hopefully completed by November. So that would be great. And that's just it. We just finished our first aeration 2 weeks ago using the new Ninja Time process. Went greens. I mean, you could barely tell the greens are aerated.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell a thing. Yeah.
So we're fairly pleased with how things are going. Hope you all are. And any
Awesome.
questions?
No, but I'm going to go ahead and give you an early proactive thank you, because the tournament that Jeff's touching base on is the annual Mayor's Tournament, which is a fundraiser tournament where the proceeds all go to benefit our Parks and Rec Youth Athletic Scholarship Fund, which allows for children who may not be able to afford a fee to play a certain sport or something like that to have that covered. So it is a great tournament every single year. Those are funds that are far, far needed so that the youth in our community can participate in athletics, and those minimal fees can get covered. And so we're really looking forward to it. It is a sold out tournament, so unfortunately promoting it to go sign up won't help at this time, but next year, if you didn't get there this year, I recommend next year you sign up really, really early. Parks and Rec let me know that this is one of the earliest they've ever seen it sell out, so I'm happy that the popularity of it and that what it benefits means enough to a lot of people in the community to get out and support that. And thank you for your staff and Parks and Rec folks all working together, because it is a great, great event. And
Forward to it.
sadly, I wish we could have hundreds and hundreds of people participate, but the field only holds so many spots,
Yeah.
right? So looking forward to seeing you out
144.
on there. Sean, anything for
No.
oh,
Keep it good work.
Lance?
No, keep up the good work, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're out early.
All right.
See you later.
Thank you, John.
See you later.
Have a good evening.
Item 13, Port Orange Community Trust Annual Update. Are we going to have a contingent tonight? Just one. All right. Well, send her up here. Let's do it. See, I tried to at least get you. I tried to get some support for you. They're like, nope, not happening.
Hello,
Welcome.
how are you?
Good.
Good. You guys have in front of you our annual
Quick,
report.
introduce yourself for the clerk's record
Oh,
for us.
I'm sorry, Dawn LeBeau from Port Orange Community Trust.
Thanks, Don.
So you guys have our annual report in front of you. Any questions for us?
You want to go through it, or what would you, hit some highlights?
Sure. I mean, I guess.
Want a copy to walk through?
Do we
All
have one?
right.
You're a huge help here.
A lot of good stuff in here, so it would be nice for you to go ahead and get that out on the record so folks
Well,
that are home
first
can
of all,
watch and can listen.
First year in the executive director role. You know, we've had a few ups and downs through the year, but I think the year went well, considering. Terry, you really could have. So the year started for me really with the aerial circus last year, which was a great event. Be another great event this year as it's coming up this Friday. rolling into our golf tournament, which went well, and then unfortunately into family days, which Milton had other plans for. But we ended the year nicely with our gingerbread house event and our senior stockings. So it turned out to be a wonderful end to the year.
You have your dates for family days?
October 9th to the 12th.
All right.
Looking ahead this year, back in March, we had our Spring Brew and Food Fest, which was a great weekend. Everybody that seemed to come out to that event had a great time. We really enjoyed listening to the Foreigner Bad Company tribute and the Neil Diamond tribute. Again, Friday night is our aerial circus, and September is our golf tournament, which hopefully you'll all come out and take part in. And then October 9th to the 12th will be Family Days, 30 years strong.
Wow, it's amazing.
And, yeah. And then we'll end the year again on that high note of gingerbread and our senior stocking program.
Very good. Why don't you touch on the community impact? This is a great page right here that's got some really nice numbers and information. I think it's always good for people that are going to support nonprofit organizations to know where that money ends up going. And you guys have got a great list again.
Yeah. So we've given out $20,500 this year. Grants we've awarded a total of $15,500. The Giving Garden, which it's a youth group it's a little nonprofit youth group that grow. We gave them $1,500 this year. Port Orange Historical Society received money from us. We're always looking to give back to the food pantries, so we hit those as often as we can. The Beacon Center was we gave them a nice grant this year. Spruce Creek Elementary, we helped them out with a new book vending machine, which is a fun thing for the school.
I heard that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Kids Tag Art program, we were the gold sponsors for that this year. I actually was just able to go over to Sugar Mill Elementary last week and give the award. The little girl that won the award was very excited and happy, and her frame or her plate was a Hawaiian theme, so it was a lot of fun.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and then Halifax Health, Youth and Adolescent Mental Health was where our golf tournament funds went to.
That's awesome. Good.
And then another thing I would like to touch on in the report is our Junior Advisory Board. We've really been trying to work hard this year to bring that board up a little bit more. They will be out at our aerial circus, really assisting or running it with the assistance of a general board, with the general board. But they're taking this over kind of to understand more of community give back and working in the nonprofit world. And they've also worked hard last year on the Gingerbread House event.
Good.
So,
Good stuff.
yeah,
For sure. Anything else?
I think that's about everything.
Councilman Green, any comments or
I
questions?
just want to say thank you to all you guys for all you do. I come to these events and I know it's a lot of work, and you guys really do a great job, and I just want to thank you guys for everything you do for the community.
Thank you. The board works very hard.
Yes, you
behind
do.
the scenes for those events.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
I just don't know how Terry Fadia got off the hook by not coming up and speaking to us today. I mean, goodness gracious, you're retired. Come on.
I have never done it. Former directors did it all the time.
Okay, all right, very good. No, I'm really excited about this year's Family Days. With last year being, disturbed, I'm looking forward to it. It's such a great event, and it just brings so many people. And our companies we had 3 booths there the last time it was there, and the number of people that come from outside Port Orange to attend this is amazing, and they love it. So it's very exciting, and look forward to it happening again. I have
So are we.
a fond memory of Port Orange Family Days. There was a video on Bright House at the time of me and my daughter going down the triple slide, promoting it for the next year. Well, she's 31 now, so
Oh.
at that time she was sitting between my legs and we were going down it. So it's just a great event, and we look forward to it and what it does for the community in the sense that the money y'all give back is tremendous. I didn't see a total figure, but I know it's over $1 million you've given back to this community, so
Yeah.
that's fantastic, and
And just
really appreciate
from,
that.
from figures from years past, the event brings in about 30,000 people.
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, I insured it at one time, and it was more people than that. I had a clicker. No, I'm kidding. Congratulations and good luck throughout the year. Hopefully, fingers crossed,
It's going to be
we don't have
beautiful.
any issues. Yeah.
I know it's an organization where one person doesn't deserve all of the praise and the credit and the thanks, so please extend our thanks to everybody that's involved in the organization, no matter what their role or their level is, because like we all know what it takes to put on some of these larger events, and some of them are pretty significant in size, and it is a tough thing that overwhelmingly the majority of the events are weather contingent, and it hurts, it disappoints when you put in so much work, months and months and months, and in some cases thousands of hours, man hours of time, and then we just get bad weather, and maybe the event can't even be rescheduled or whatever. So I hope that people understand and they know that the effort is still appreciated, and the next event will just be the next event. It's next event up kind of a thing. And so, but you know, hopefully this year weather will be a friend of ours. Hopefully Friday night we can start off with that one. That'll be great. I'll be there to MC that, and the aerial circus is a great event for especially small kids and families that want to come out. So looking forward to kicking that off, and great events for the rest of the year. So we appreciate everything you guys do, and thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Board appointments, interviews, and reports. Item 14, Golf Advisory Board report. Come on up.
Yes, sir.
I guess I should have maybe moved you up and brought you right up with Kemper. But come on.
That's okay.
Let's talk some more golf.
You can need a break.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a little bit, I feel a little bit like Debbie Downer on Saturday Night Live. I mean, you hear all these accolades for the golf course, and I got to come and tell you, here's the things that are wrong.
That's your job.
Yeah, that's my job.
There you go.
No, I would encourage the bunker specifically. I understand the bid is in, and the earlier we can get that pushed through to get it approved and get them going, the better. Right now, it looks like it's going to be like a 3-month process, about 90 days. Perhaps starting in October, which is really hot, kind of high season. They're going to do one hole at a time, so they won't tie up the whole course or block everything off, but it's going to take them quite a while to get through. So the earlier we can get that started, the better. The other thing I think that's coming your way, if you haven't seen it yet, is there's a need to rebuild the tee boxes. When you play this week, you'll see that the grass is very thin in the tee boxes, predominantly because they're too small. They get too much use in too small an area, and you just can't spread it out enough to make it pleasant. So those things really need to be done. It's very expensive, I understand. So you know, I hope we're able to do that. There was a lot of discussion tonight, and I don't have specifics, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but Kevin's going to meet with the food and beverage manager. There's some issues around the process and whether or not he's in compliance with the contract and the quality of the service and food. One example is, according to the contract, he's supposed to be open to the same hours as the golf course. So that would be like 6:30 in the morning to basically 8 o'clock at night. Often he's not there at 8 o'clock. So, you know, that's something that people are looking for coffee in the morning or beer, and they can't get it because he's not open yet. Let's see, I think that was about the bulk of it. One last thing, we're close. The first impression people have when you come to the golf course is there's a sign that says, you know, welcome to Cypress Head. And then you have this parking lot that's a hodgepodge of weeds and stones and mulch that's, out in the parking lot. It really needs to be cleaned up and enhanced. Jeff seems to think it's a $100,000 project. I said, well, a little, you know, weed killer would go a long way. I don't think that's going to be $100,000. But that's something that really should be looked at to enhance the appearance, because it's the first thing you see when you pull in. It's like you got a great golf course, you know, good service, you know, player assistance, all those good things that are going on, and the first thing you see is this dumpy looking this parking lot. So that's it. Any questions, comments?
I have none, thank you, Rich.
So, with the parking lot,
Yes.
and I really think, you know, that first appearance driving in, and
Yeah, right.
I never really pay much attention to it there because I think I'm thinking about not being in a bunker later. But is that something that our staff takes care of, or is
Kemper.
it
Kemper.
Kemper's responsible for that?
Kemper takes care of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just, nothing's happened to it, and I've lived there for 15 years. I don't think it's changed one iota since I've been
Since I built it.
there. Yeah.
We can we can look at it. I mean, I know
Yeah.
the heavy emphasis is on the
Yeah.
course. So
Right,
and it's
right,
it's a
yeah.
living
Right.
it's a living
Yeah.
property and project that
Yeah.
never ever
Yeah.
you never get to a finish line. You're always going to have maintenance and
But just
and things. But
mulch.
we'll take a look
Yeah,
at it.
Just
maybe
mulch
a
over
service
everything and
project
bury it.
for, that could be a service project for a service club,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
that they could,
And we have those that look for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
Yeah,
Rotary
yeah.
clubs
But
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
But I look forward to seeing you all at the mayor's tournament.
yeah, sounds good.
All right.
All
Good
right,
deal.
thanks. Appreciate
Thank
you coming
Take
out.
care. Yeah.
Item 15, Parks and Recreation Board appointments. We have currently 2 openings on the Parks and Rec Board, and we have 4 people who have applied for consideration. We have Brian Seifert, Christina Berry, and Jeff Brabham, and Kathleen Malagal. And I apologize in advance if I've pronounced anybody's name incorrectly. We'll see if, are any of the 4 here tonight? We got 2 of you here. Okay. I know Brian Seifert reached out. He is on a honeymoon. Congratulations on getting married. So he's actually out of state. Is Christina Berry here? You want to come on up and tell us why you want to be considered for this position? Welcome.
I think I saw y'all a few years ago when I was part of the environmental board. But I've lived in Port Orange since 2017. I've always been involved or interested in getting more involved, I guess, per se. But I've been on the environmental board, I've been on the transit committee, and then when I was in college, I was also part of the student government. So things of that nature have always been something I've been interested in. I've always wanted to make more of a difference in the community where I live. And if it's not volunteering, you know, with the animal shelter, it's, you know, maybe trying to find another way to get more involved on a board, and park and recs. And then also you'll see me again on the environmental board once again. But it's just getting more involved with the community, meeting more people, and just being more out there, more, I don't know. I go to my nephew's games and it's just trying to get more involved.
Good.
Excellent. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your interest.
Can I ask you a question? You said you were on advisory board for environmental advisory board before?
Nope, just the the environmental board,
The
yes.
environmental advisory board before. How long were you on that, and what had you come off of it? And if you can't say it's okay, but I'm just curious. I was on that board at one time. I had to come off just due to the time.
It was a short time I was on it. It was, I want to say, for maybe 6 months I was part of on it. And it was just, I don't know how. I had to come off of it a short time.
Okay.
That's
all right. But
that's
you'd
all
be
the way.
interested in serving on it again?
Yes.
Okay.
Very
All right,
much
very
so.
good. All right.
Thank you.
Do you have a preference on which one you would rather be on, this one or the environmental board?
Just for something different, Park and Recs would be, you know, but either or. Like, I wouldn't, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be upset about being on either board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Brabham? Am I pronouncing that right, Jeff? Did I get close?
Close enough.
All right. Come on up. Welcome.
Thanks, man. I just wanted to apologize before I start out. I did not make the deadline for your golf tournament on the 14th.
That's okay.
But I'm going to catch the
Whatever.
one coming up next year.
Sure.
So, again, my name's Jeff Brabham, 11-year resident here in Port Orange. I've utilized a lot of the parks with my grandkids and a lot of the services that are out there. Over the last year and a half, I've been very involved in the Adult Activity Center. In fact, we're a Super Gold sponsor. We've sponsored over 18 different events, whether it be their bingos, their trivias, their dinners, things like that. So very involved there. I've also done some other volunteer work here at the City Center with Rex and with Josh. My company also sponsors Oasis programs with the City of Daytona Beach. We're in 6 of their senior centers, and we do a lot of give back and a lot of promotion. The biggest asset that I bring is I have extensive experience in corporate fundraising and private donations. I believe it's great, and I applaud the city for the $2 million investment in the parks in the budget this year. That's great for the facilities, but I would like to be more involved in the scholarship funding, and I think that there's some areas of opportunity throughout all of the parks and the rec, and I believe that there could be more activities that they could do if they had the proper funding, and instead of relying on the city, we can rely on corporate donations and private funding. So again, that's what I bring to the table. Would love to be a part, would love to have access to it, and not just golf tournaments, but other fundraising and a lot of different ideas, a lot of different expertise in it. Okay?
Good. Well, hang on one second. Gentlemen, anything?
What company are you with?
ASB Financial.
Okay.
Yeah. I've gotten to know Jeff at the Adult Senior Center, volunteering there, and I appreciate what you do, and I have no questions.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate your interest.
Thank you, Jeff.
Kathleen, want me to take another shot? Malagal. Okay, I was pretty close. Come on up. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. All right, so I use ChatGPT, greatest thing, because I'm so nervous when I speak. So
okay.
I'm just going to read it.
It's all right.
All right, so I'm Kathy Malagal. I'm a longtime resident of 20 years and proud to call Port Orange home for the last 3. I'm a small business owner, community advocate, and someone who sees our parks not just as a green space, but as something that connects in a thriving city to everybody. I run a mobile food trailer, Donut NV, and I bring that trailer to all of the events, the sporting events, the fundraisers, the city functions. So I am in all cities, all parks. So I see them all, so I can, I go to a park and I'm like, that park's not that great. Or I can go to that park and I'm like, that's a really nice park. So I do see lots of parks, and so I'm also talking to families, kids, senior citizens, hearing what they love about the parks and what they wish they had more of as well. I do hear things when I'm out there. I've seen how well-designed parks and community programs can strengthen neighborhoods, support mental health, and give families affordable ways to enjoy quality time together. And I want to help make sure that continues to grow in the right direction. I did that with my son as a stay-at-home mom. Every weekend, every day, we went to a different park. And we want to make sure that the kids, the moms, have somewhere to go continuously. So I am also a graduate of the Port Orange University, just recently graduated. I'm an ambassador of the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also the growth coordinator for the local BNI chapter. I'm already actively working to build relationships and lift up our community. I bring a mix of professional experience, creativity, and a roll-up-your-sleeves attitude to everything I do. I would say I'm persistent. I give my all to everything that I do, and I really would love, the Port Orange University opened my eyes to a lot of things. It's a great program, and it made me realize I really do want to get in there and to help more than what I do now. So that's about it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anything, John?
Thank you.
I see you put yourself down as well as with the Environmental Advisory Board as
Yes.
well.
I personally think I'd be better off as the Parks and Recs, but I also am big with the environment as well. I have a pollinator's garden in my front yard because I am big on, making sure that the bees and the butterflies and all that stuff in the environment still continues with our food and everything. So I am big on that. So I am for either, but I prefer to do the Parks and Rec.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And for those that maybe aren't aware, the next agenda item is for a position on the Environmental Advisory Board, and 3 of these folks have applied for that position as well. So we'll move this forward here in just a second. if you don't get appointed to a position or a board this evening, please don't be discouraged by that. We want people to continue to do this. We love the fact that people are interested, and sometimes you might put in for a board 2 or 3 times or whatever, and then you get selected and appointed on a board. The important part is that your willingness to serve the community, and we're very grateful for that because we need people to fill these board roles. I will just say that the Parks and Rec Advisory Board is one that it's a commitment to that. There's going to be a lot on their plate in the coming years with this bond that was approved and all of the different projects. And these are going to be technical. There's going to be a lot of meetings. There may be opportunities for us to do additional things with some of those projects with other funds and things that may or may not come available. We don't know. You just kind of got to go through the process. It's a multi-year thing. It's not just going to be something that it's a 1 meeting, 1 year kind of a deal. So the Parks and Rec Board is a board that's there's going to be some work there, and there's going to be a commitment for that for sure. So we'll go through this and see. So gentlemen, I can entertain nominations. We have 2 seats open. If you want, maybe each of you can nominate one person at a time, and so the nominations will have to be made by these 2 gentlemen here.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to nominate for the Parks and Rec Board Jeff Brabham.
Do I have a second for that?
Yeah, I'll second Jeff
Okay.
to be on that board. And so I know Brian well, and not well, but I know him as a umpire for many, many, many years, and then supporting youth athletics in these fields for a very, very long time. And I would nominate Brian Seifert to the rec board because of the involvement he's had, and he has being an umpire for so many years, he sees the need that is probably out there, and I think that'll help guide that board as well. Not to take anything away from you, Kathleen, or you, Christina. These are tough. It's fantastic that we have multiple people applying for minimal amount of positions that are open now. So it's tough for us to make decisions, but that would be my nomination.
So how does this work? I mean,
He would need a second with his nomination.
so are we voting on each
Yeah,
as
we'll
we go? or-
vote. We'll
or-
vote on the 2 nominations.
Okay, so I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to appoint Jeff Brabham and Brian Seifert to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. You need to call the roll on that, or
Voice vote's fine.
Robin's recommending we call the roll?
You need roll call, it sounds like to me, and
On separate.
Oh,
Okay, so call the roll on Jeff Brabham?
Councilman Gephardt,
Yes.
Councilman Green,
Yes.
and Mayor Stillman.
Yes, 3-0. And call the roll on Brian Seifert?
Councilman Gephardt,
Yes.
Councilman Green,
Yes.
Mayor Stillman.
Yes, 3-0. Congratulations. Thank you for your willingness to serve. So that'll bring us to item 16, Environmental Advisory Board. So on that one, we have Christina Berry. Christina, did you want to come up and make any more comments about this particular one? You don't have to. Okay. Jeff, did you want to come up and make any more comments about this particular one?
Can you be
And-
on more than one? You can?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Kathleen, any more comments? Did you want to come back up? Good? No more chat GPT? All right. So I will entertain, I
It
got
works
you.
well.
I will entertain a motion for a single appointment on the Environmental Advisory Board, please.
I would make a motion that we put Kathleen on the environmental board.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any other nominations?
No.
Can you call the roll for Kathleen Malagold to be appointed to the Environmental Advisory Board, please?
Councilman Gephardt,
Yes.
Councilman Green,
Yes.
Mayor Stillman.
Yes, 3-0. Congratulations. Welcome to the Environmental Advisory Board.
Great pay and great benefits.
Yeah, so.
And
Go ahead.
I would just want to say, Kathleen, I apologize for not nominating you to be on
That's
this
Christine.
board. Christine. I thank you for thinking about us and keep staying involved as much as you can. Look for opportunities on other boards, and they're out there. So keep it going. Keep
We'll
being
get,
involved.
we'll
Keep
get, we'll
being
get you
out
on the
there.
board here soon.
Yeah. Don't
Thank
be a
you.
stranger to us.
All right, public hearing portion of the meeting. Item 17, first reading of ordinance number 2025-16. City Attorney?
An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property located. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property located at 422 Jefferson Avenue, consisting of approximately .26 acres from rezoning from community commercial CC to neighborhood preservation, authorizing revision of the official zoning atlas and providing an effective date.
Can I get a motion and a second for item 17?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we approve item 17.
Second?
Motion and a second. Welcome.
Good evening, Penelope Cruz Planning. So the proposed administrative rezoning is to change the zoning of the property located at the southeast corner of Jefferson Avenue and Oak Street from community commercial to neighborhood preservation. The subject property has been developed as a single-family home since 1963. As you can see in the aerial and the map there, actually that whole row of homes there, all 4 lots have single-family homes on them and have commercial zoning. This particular property was impacted by Hurricane Ian and is part of the Volusia County Transform 360 program, which would allow the house to be demolished and rebuilt. The reason we're moving forward with this one right now is because it has an active grant through Transform 360, so we didn't want to hold up that permitting process as we gather the owner authorization for the remainder properties. Later this summer, you're going to probably see an item come before you for a large package of administrative rezonings for not only these other 3 lots, but also several other properties kind of on the east side that are in similar situations where they are longstanding single-family homes that have commercial zoning on them, to allow those properties based on impacts of damage or what have you to be able to be conforming. So you'll see that coming up in the summer, but we didn't want to hold up the permitting process on this one. So if this is approved, the single-family home will be able to be rebuilt. It'll have to meet all land development code and building code, and the new home's finished floor is going to be elevated 3 feet above the current grade. So with that, staff's recommending approval and is here to answer any questions you may have.
No, I think this is just some housekeeping. I think it's kind of crazy how after all these years, there's these multiple little properties down there it's just the way it was.
You'd be surprised how many there are.
Oh, I know. And that little area was a business district way back when. Most of the stores weren't right on A1A, they were just off, but I guess that zoning was there, but they still built a house. But it's just some clerical things here.
No questions.
3 feet higher than what it is now is going to be a lot. That's going to be pretty significant to that, but this makes good sense.
It's definitely a low spot though, so yeah.
For sure. Any public comments on the item? Seeing none, back to council. Last chance for some comments, gentlemen.
Nope.
All right. Call the roll.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Mayor Stillman?
Yes, 3-0. That brings us to the regular agenda item. Item number 18, fiscal year 2025-2026 budget discussion, preliminary capital improvement plan, capital outlay, and fleet. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. Mark Simpson, Finance Director. I'd also like to acknowledge the staff here this evening, Linda, Deanie, and Petra, who were instrumental in
Mark, you might have to
preparing
adjust
this.
that mic a little bit. I apologize.
And I apologize for the raspy
Yeah,
voice.
one of these days we're going to come up with a better plan for that mic, I think.
How about now?
Robin's promised it. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I can hear you.
Okay, Mark Simpson, Finance Director. I also want to acknowledge the budget staff here, Linda, Deanie, and Petra, who were instrumental in putting together this presentation this evening. And I'll let Wayne kick us off with an introduction.
Yeah, well, while you're getting the PowerPoint set up, I have a brief introduction while we're getting the PowerPoint. Is that on? Okay. So this is our annual CIP presentation. We usually do it first. It's in the same format that you've seen in the past. in the future, Mark will be doing more of this, but he's only been here 2 months. So in fairness to the transition in finance, a lot of the stuff in capital has long roots, and it goes back through multiple years. So some of the history of it is something in 2 months you wouldn't have all the background on. So I'll probably do most of the talking on big picture, and if you have questions, we have either Mark or the staff to get into it. I said the format's is very much similar to what we did last year. Broken down by fund, broken down by capital improvements projects first, capital outlay, and then fleet. The difference in those being the capital improvements projects are the larger fixed beginning and end construction projects. It's larger things like building something at the wastewater treatment plant or doing a stormwater project. Outlay is usually a smaller scale of usually purchasing things, but there are some smaller scale things that might be considered construction, like a dugout or buying shelters and putting them up in a park. So that's the difference between a capital project, which is a big project, versus the smaller scale, and then fleets all of our vehicles and equipment. Standard setup. We also added maps, so it helps generally for the public. I think most of the council members know where these projects are, but as people are going through this and reviewing what we're talking about, the maps show you the physical location where they're at. The information will be up on the website for people to look at and go through as we go forward. So we've talked about this before. Every time we talk about budget, the largest expense in your budget is personnel. But you don't have a whole lot of control over personnel. We have collective bargaining agreements. 80–90% of our staff are under contract. So where you do have a lot of control is in your capital. That is an area where staff, that's the second largest expense as a whole. The other thing that makes capital a bit unique is most of these are fixed. So you have the ability to use one-time only revenue to do with capital, where that is not something anyone ever recommends you use with ongoing operational cost. So in this case, we're in the process, and very shortly here we'll have a sales of the Allen Green Center, so there's revenue from that. There's one-time revenue that we just recently got some hurricane revenue back from Irma. So we have some extra money in those piles that you can use in these capital projects. So going into that, also we're not asking for any vote tonight. This is just a discussion. It's trying to make sure that we're on the right path. We have general direction from you. If there's anything you either have more questions on, if we need more information you'd like before as we go through the process, let me know while we're going forward. The full budget meeting, we had originally talked about trying to bring that all to you at the end of June, but we just got the preliminary property values from Larry Bartlett in the property appraiser's office, a little bit lower than we normally expect. We were thinking it'd be a little bit bigger year because we had a couple of apartment complexes come online, the Advent Medical Center, so we thought we'd have more revenue than we might have. So we really need to get into all the other sources that impact the general fund. We're also still in the earlier stages of collective bargaining with 3 of the unions. So we need a little bit more time to be able to bring to you the full budget. So we're expecting to do that in July now. So that gives us a little bit of time to go through capital, set up your direction, move forward from there. So with that, I'm not going to go into a lot of the theory. We're going to go right into the funds, and the first one being our probably most critical right now, given the fact of the storms. We'll start talking about the stormwater fund. So I'm going to read off this. Basically, one of the things that we highlight on here, so when we sent this out to you last week, we had the intention to draw attention here. The first 2 projects are the most critical on this one. The difference in this chart is the top ones have grant funding, the bottom are out of stormwater fees specifically. We're in the last year of updating the stormwater fees, so this is the last time that you'll see money. We get about $5 million a year ballpark in the stormwater fee, and we went over this when we were going through the fee. The vast majority of the actual stormwater fee ends up covering the cost of the operations for stormwater. So there's a lot of heavy equipment in this division, and a lot of that goes to running that equipment. The staff is actually a fairly small amount of it, but that amount of money will not pay for major construction projects. So $5 million a year, you can see some of these projects, you couldn't even do one project with that. So the top are the 2 big ones, and we've got an extra chart in here in a couple pages that I'll go into more on the grant projects, but those are the 2 larger ones coming forward. And the rest of it, so there's a couple smaller projects down here, the B19 outfall and the Devon Street Pond. These are the kind of things we do every year. We find and identify areas in the city that need improvement. And so both of these are areas where they're not master plan level, but they're improvements that need to be made at smaller scale. And then there's ongoing maintenance. So the pipe R&R, that's our corrugated metal pipe replacement program. We got miles of this pipe in there. It was the predominant type of drainage pipe used in the heavy building years of the 80s and 90s. And it doesn't do well in our climate, so we're either removing it or we're lining it so that it'll last longer, so you don't want to see a corrugated pipe rust and the road collapse. So that's an ongoing program. We got about 10 more years at this revenue stream to do that. And then the other line that's in there, which is the proactive inspection, that's going in and looking at all the other pipes in the city, putting cameras in them, repairing them, whether there's root intrusion, and in certain times, during the course of the year, we're going to have some pipes fail. And so that would be the funding source that pays for anything that happens during the course of the year, as well as proactive. So that's the stormwater fund. If you have any questions on it, I can answer them. The map's on the next page, but I also have the next page after that is all the big grant projects. So I'll go to that if you don't have questions on the project.
Can you just elaborate, like on the right-hand side column where we're talking funding sources, when you noted grants, are we noting that because we're pursuing grants, or we've already received grants for these projects? If you can just comment on that, because I think that'll end up being a question.
And they're in both cases, but most of these have not been received yet. So Cambridge is it's FEMA reimbursement. So we just use the term grant broadly. The Sugar Forest one is a multiple grants, and when we get to that other chart, it'll show you the funding sources. So I'll go into detail on what's grants when we get to that slide. And
if I could add real quick on the bottom portion, you see a $2 million number from stormwater fees. I think it's relevant to note that the stormwater fund does have $5 million of unrestricted fund balance. So it's not a shocking number at all. We have available funds to fund that.
And let me just say this, and hopefully both of you two gentlemen are okay with this. So we can do this a little bit more like we would do in a workshop. So as they're going through this, if something you want to point out right now, let's go ahead and just do that instead of waiting till the 28th page and then forgetting that you had a question or something. So
No, I think
feel
it's
free to
very
jump in.
important that you pointed out that in the stormwater fee, going after $2 million, but there's $5 million in it is huge. We're not,
You're not
emptying
going to
it.
bankrupt the fund, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but you confused me, Wayne, because you made the statement that the stormwater fee basically just pays for equipment and what did you call it? You're
It's
saying
the
very
operating
low-
cost of it, so it's all the equipment, the maintenance of the equipment, the fuel, the repairs, as well as staff. So the stormwater fee funds all the people and machines that deal with it. There is some excess money. It's not 100% used up, and that's where that fund balance came from.
It's been building up over years and years.
Okay, because I was a little confused. I felt so you said we were generating $5 million a year and we were spending $5 million a year.
And we have $5 million in savings.
Okay.
From not spending all of our operating money.
We had
every
not
year.
been. We had a period, we talked about this in the past, that we had not, we have new leadership in key positions and we are executing far better. So in the past, there were projects that weren't moving forward and weren't getting done. Also in the past, we didn't have hurricanes, so we didn't have as many aggressive schedules on the project. So, but there is some money that doesn't get spent. We don't spend all $5 million on annual cost. It goes into the fund balance or it goes into one of these projects.
Okay.
And it's also kind of important, but yet obvious that some of these projects are very expensive.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
you're going to have to carry over some funds.
Yeah.
And the two
Time
smaller
in order to
ones
build up enough funds to do
that are
something.
there, that's typically what we would do. Absent a stormwater master plan with
Right.
$50 million worth of stormwater projects, those smaller projects that are in there. So B19 is just, when it got designed, that outfall goes from, usually you go from bigger pipes to smaller pipes, and we have varying size pipes and that water doesn't flow well. So we got to get in there and do that. And then the other pond has a little issue where the outfall doesn't work and it drains off the backside, and we need to fix it so that it goes towards where the outfall is supposed to. So those are the kind of projects we do annually as we notice them in the system that are part of that extra fund for that. And then the big ones, which are what's on this slide here, and they're in order of cost. So originally when we were looking at them, they're not in order of when they're going to happen, but they're in order of cost. And then we did add the funding source so you can see where they all are, where the money's coming from. So most of the projects, we have grant options to pay for almost all of it. A couple of them, there's some gaps. So where there's the gaps will either come out of the stormwater fees, or they will come from, you can borrow if we need to, if we get to that point. So as we move forward, there'll be other revenue sources, selling property. We have a property up on Reed Canal. If we sell that, that money could be put into this. So there's other sources of revenue through time that could go to these projects. The four that say Transform 386, that's about over $20 million of a request. We just submitted all four of those last Friday. So they are in the county's system. We should hear by the end of July what the staff opinion is on it. Council, I think, would vote in August, the county council. So we should know by the end of the summer what happens there. The thing will happen with Transform 386, if the county funds them, the county will manage the project, so they will have some control over schedule and timing. I thought it was important, though, I did want the two projects that are likely to start construction first, Cambridge and Pepper Hill, are the two closest because they're both under design. So Cambridge is due to be finished with design this year. We expect Cambridge to begin construction first quarter of next year. So I don't use winter in that case because sometimes people think winter is December. It's not going to be December of 26. It'll be January, February, March of 26. So that'll be the first one you start seeing construction on, is the Cambridge project. The second one being Pepper Hill Sugar Forest. That one, design should be done and it could be ready for construction in the fall of 26, but if it's part of Transform 386 and the county's controlling it, they will have the purchasing process and it would be their contracts. So it would probably still happen late in the year, but we won't fully control that. But those would be the first two you actually see active construction coming for us. I know there's a lot of numbers and a lot of words, but what people want to see is when is it going to get done.
Right.
So you're saying the county, because it's Transform 386, the county is in control of actually doing the work?
Yes, it's their money. So in order to speed the process up, they will handle all the paperwork because it's their money. If they give us the money, then they have to put all the strings on it to tell us how to use their money.
But we're designing it?
Yes.
Huh. So, I mean, I don't know, does it meet, is there a design criteria where we've got to meet the county
application,
criteria?
we have applied and told them what we're going to do. If they choose to fund it, they know what we've designed it to do.
Huh, okay.
Well, and hopefully from not only having the designs and the concepts going forward, but the fact that we were able to model these projects to know that if you'll fund this and do this, it's going to work.
Well, I'm just...
Same thing's happening with the basin study too. It's their contract, so it's our basin study, but they're running the contract. But it speeds it up because they're not having...
That seems like an odd gap to me. We're doing the design, but yet they're doing the work.
Well, we're going to be a part of it, but they're going to ultimately be in charge. We're not going to have the final yes or no on schedule and timing. So when we do the MPO, TPO projects and we get money from the state, we're technically doing construction in the state right away on behalf of the state. It's a very bureaucratic process.
Right.
We have turn lanes out here. The turn lane in front of City Hall was a project that we came up with before I even left to go to North Carolina a decade ago.
Right.
And it's still not built, and it's just a turn lane. Because that process, when you take other people's money to do work in their land at their behest, it takes a lot longer to do. So the county believes if we're going to give you the money, we don't want to have to come up with a whole process to have you be compliant with how we spend their money. They're going to run the construction project. It's not going to be like we're independent. We're going to be part of the team. But ultimately, like where you could tell me, I want you to drop everything you're doing and make that project your top priority and get it out on this date. And I can do that. But we won't be able to tell the county, drop everything you're doing and make that the top. You can ask for it, but you won't be able to dictate it like you can to your own staff.
Well, then it helps to move the projects along faster than...
It keeps two governments from being...
Sure.
We run into that with that TPO process.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a disconnect there, but... So now on this other project with the Cambridge, the city would have to come up with about $2 million of our own money on that?
That's correct.
But we have that in the current year already. We've budgeted the gap. Now, the reason it's not showing up here is because it's in this year's money, correct?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah, Cambridge is ready, absent FEMA money and design approval later in the year.
Okay.
Anything else on these drainage projects? Water and sewer is always the bigger, usually without stormwater, but this one is a solid fund. So the funds are there to do these projects. A lot of these projects are the permits that we have, the federal government really cares about how water and sewer is done. So there's a lot of regulation on water and sewer. Not as much regulation on roads and things like that, but so some of these things, when you reach a certain age, you have got to do things that you don't have any choice. If you want to have a permit, keep doing it. You got to replace these filters. You got to replace these generators. So a lot of this stuff is that. The first two projects at the top, I'll draw attention, we did change the names of them from what we sent you. They were a little bit more confusing. What they really are is our wastewater treatment plant is required to undergo a major upgrade to meet compliance with new federal standards. So there's two phases to it. The first one is the $15 million. We've had a number of agenda items in front of you with the grant. Principally, it's the electronics, it's the power system for it, and a filter system. So there's a lot of work being done there. That is designed. So this money now goes into construction. So that one hits the construction phase. Project number 2 is the rest of the plant, and that money is to design the project for the rest of the plant, and then more grants and more funds will follow to construct it. So that's the dominant thing in here. There's several other projects we'll be happy to answer questions on. You can see we have a consistent, methodical process of upgrading our lift stations throughout the city. So that's something we've been doing. Those of you who, when we were in Tallahassee asking for funds, we were trying to get lift station money as well. Other maintenance projects in there, the telemetry stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here to do the communication. So our lift stations and our wells. So we're upgrading the ability to talk to them. Some of you may have been into the command centers, the control centers at both the water plant and sewer plant, and you see anytime something goes on, you see alarms going off. All that's how they communicate to each other. So that stuff's got to be upgraded over time. So most of it is regular maintenance of the utility system, and then the major upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant.
And the only thing I can add on that is the available fund balance of the water and sewer fund is $25 million. So we would be asking to use $5.4 million of that available fund balance for these projects.
And the balance on that is $25 million?
Yes, sir.
You can go to the general construction. So
Carry on.
this is the general fund stuff. So this is the stuff you pay for principally out of your property taxes. They're separated here, numbered by grants versus straight from the general fund. The first set of projects, the FEMA list here, they're various alphabet names of funding that come in, and we were trying to estimate between all of them that are out there, there's approximately 165 homes that are in some form of process to elevate, demolish, and rebuild or acquire. So what happens when the city acquires the land, we get 75% from the funding source and 25% we pay. All of the ones that were to be acquired are in the current fiscal year. Everything that's in this proposed budget right now we don't have anything in this proposed budget that's an us acquire. So this is a lot of money. It's over $11 million. But we get 100% of it back when they go through the program. So the challenge for us is that money, which is a decent amount of our stormwater fee, is sitting there allocated and unusable for construction projects while we wait on this to happen. And so for the timeline on it, when we execute that grant program with whichever agency it is, whether it happens to be a HUD or FHA, whatever alphabet it is, it's 3 years from when we execute that they have to be done. So we're looking at possibly 4 years from now before all this money comes back to us. They're going to be coming in one at a time as they go. We've had a couple people back out of it, but once we execute the grant, they're in the grant. So we'll know how many we have to fund at that point when we get ready to go. The one that's in here, I think this one is, there's 37 of them on this one. That's a pretty good number. I mean, we had about 1,200 homes flood. And so if we're looking at 165 in this program, we have 140 that joined Elevate Florida, which is a state program. So a decent number of the people are taking care of their house this way. So it helps in addition to the $50 million of stormwater improvement projects that we have to try to keep flooding from happening as well. But a decent number of the property owners are going through these programs to elevate their homes so that they're not subject to this in the future. And the project below it, just moving on from those, the Riverwalk Day Dock, it's showing a $1.6 million. We have a fine grant application out for 800,000 of it. We did the boating grant for 4. Our cost could be as low as 400,000 on that, maybe 800 if we don't get the second grant, but it's somewhere between 4 and 8. So that's the total cost, but the vast majority that we expect to get from grants. Okay, any other questions on the
Wayne,
grant funding?
so that 11 million, that's guaranteed to come back from FEMA.
If it gets spent on this part, we
Right.
either don't spend it or we'll get it back.
Sure, okay, gotcha.
Well, see, that was what and again, I had a discussion with Wayne about this the other day, because it's confusing to me that we've got 11, almost $12 million out there, and we're not gonna get it back for at least 4 years. And where did the money come from?
That would come from our savings account.
So we've taken from our savings this $12 million that's now it's gotta be stapled, it's earmarked now for this month, it can't be used. But we won't stand to get it back for at least almost 4 years.
Right.
I mean, that's just.
Well, you're gonna find out that depending on when certain things happen, the strings to FEMA change all the time.
Yeah.
There are times where it's gonna be this scenario, and then there's other times where you can't use your own funds. You have to wait until you receive the FEMA dollars. And we just got, what was the one we just got reimbursement for FEMA not too long
It
ago?
was Irma. We got a little
Yeah.
over $1 million
And
from
how
Irma.
long ago was Irma?
It was the 17
Yeah.
storm, I think it was, yeah.
So
It's just
17
unbelievable,
was
but I
it's
just.
good to know it's coming.
I know, but at the same time, it's just that we're putting this money
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there, and it's taking that much longer to get
Yeah.
it back, but.
And
I
the
get it.
substantial damage homes that we talked about, and I'm estimating, I think we had about 365, we have a little over 350 homes that have been determined to be substantially damaged. About half of those people have either come in and said, here's evidence I'm not, or have a plan of which they're probably in one of these programs. So somewhere out there, those 365 people, I don't know how many are left now that are 126 of them are still trying to determine that, but these programs help them where they can get their permits and move forward. So it's a definite rock and a hard place. It's a challenge because it's helping people who have a legitimate need take care of it on an individual flooded home basis, allows them to continue to live in their same home with their same neighbors and schools and that kind of stuff. But it does hold up a lot of our money for a long period of time. But those larger scale projects are going to take a lot longer to build, some of them, than some of these. So it's a difficult decision. I suspect at some point, if we know money's coming back, once we've signed a contract, you could borrow against this money coming back, borrow to build the stormwater projects, and then replace that money back when you get the money back from FEMA, if you get to the point where this $12 million is keeping us from doing Sleepy Hollow.
Right.
You know, you can borrow it and then say we're going to pay it back when we get all this money back from
On the
FEMA.
plus side, though, at least we're not tearing houses down and taking them off tax roll. At least we're keeping people in a house, you know?
It's the dominant preference. We have definitely seen more people who volunteer to elevate, not
Right.
to, or to tear down and rebuild, but they don't want to be gone.
Can I ask a question? I apologize for not doing this yesterday when we spoke. The Riverwalk Day docks for 1.6 million. Where exactly is that located for that area?
In the river.
The south side of the chamber building where they usually keep the trailer and the dumpster area was.
Yeah.
If you just keep going straight past it, it's on the north end of our park, right at that property line. It's going to go straight out perpendicular into the water right there at the north end of the park.
Okay, and there's a dock there. There's a dock there now that's destroyed. This has nothing to do with
This is a
that?
different one. That's on the north side, which
Okay.
is another repair project.
That's
Okay.
TE
And that's like an observation dock or a
Yeah.
fishing thing.
Now, this day dock will be actually used for
These are boats.
for boats.
And it's kind of part of a multi-phase approach with Florida and the Navigational District, because in concept, as you do this, then we then become in a better position to get dredging projects to dredge, to come up to the Riverwalk area and be able to provide better waterway access to that entire area. So it kind of all ties together over phases, I guess.
Just making sure while he's moving.
Did I say that right, Wayne? Kind of?
You did, and I'm
All
just trying to
right.
make sure that I'm not saying anything wrong while they're, I don't see anything that, no. So this is the stuff that's straight out of you can see the next slide is regular general fund. So the big one at the top here is the ball field rehab. That's the where we built the soccer and baseball fields on the landfill. We tried, Tallahassee tried really hard to convince people. They loved our story about City Center. I think every one of them was energized about what a cool place it is. Not one of them gave us any money. So to fix this and seal it off is $3 million. That's generally as much money as we probably spend in the general fund on a given year. So we have one big project. The rest of them below it are all legit projects. They total about $1 million. When we get to the outlay, which I was telling you is the smaller stuff like dugouts and picnic pavilions and stuff, between them all, it's like $1.5 million for all the rest of the general fund stuff. So these are relatively small, but this is the ongoing programs that we have, whether it's improving our parks on a regular basis, improving generators. I got a good question the other day. Rec's brand new. Why does it need a new generator? The generator didn't get replaced when Rec got built. That's the old one that's been there. Not the right size for that, and we use it now as our shelter for staff during hurricanes. So these are the things that are just identified as ongoing needs to take care of the city's infrastructure as we move forward. Obviously, if we get to a point in July where we're talking about general fund dollars and property taxes not being where we want, you probably come back somewhere in here and figure out how to save some of that money, or you raise the millage. But just wanted to just show them here, we don't need to take anything out or do anything with them unless you really don't want to do them. But for now, this is generally where you'd come back to if the tax dollars don't show up.
Gotcha.
These are a couple other funds just to show you that we're in the process of negotiating an extension of the lease with the Y. It's a relatively old building. As part of that negotiation, one of the things that we've talked about doing with them is typically the landlord will make tenant improvements for somebody as you go into these leases when it's an older building. One of the things we've talked about doing is helping them with the exterior windows in the place, and that would be in the early stages of it. There's more that would come in future years. Where we would put those in out-year budgets to keep up our part of the deal if council approves that lease extension. This is from the fund we have that's set aside, generally funded by their lease revenue, so it's not a general fund thing, but we wanted to show you that would be likely to happen this year if that lease extension occurs. You heard tonight from the golf people about the golf course tee boxes. Well, there's your project to help that.
Are we still using the YMCA as a storm shelter?
We are not. We moved to the rec.
Okay. Perfect.
And then so now this moves on to the outlay request or the capital, not project. So these are the smaller scale. This is what I was telling you, is a little under $500,000 of upgrades to a variety of things. Got a couple good questions on these because some of them are like, what is the, which is one, the rec sound wall? Is that in here?
That's on the last one.
That's the last one, okay. So a couple of them in here. So people have been in Lakeside. The audio visual it's pretty bad in there. It's hard to use. We don't ever use it for workshops because you can't hear it in there. So that's a replace for that. We've talked about using security cameras. So there's a bunch of security cameras going back into other places there. And then I talked about the smaller things with the dugouts and the pavilion. So again, standard requests. This is the kind of stuff we do every year as it reaches a need. These were the things that top the list from staff as recommendations. Very, very much valuable projects to do. As long as the funding's there, we support the requests you do them. And this is the rest of the fund. So these are the others, so golf course and then the rest of them. You can see those projects as well. And then we summarize the total at the end. So I don't know if you have any questions on any of them.
Just to back up for just 1 second on some of these parks and rec stuff. Lowe's frequently reaches out to us and asks us if there's any projects that we're looking to get done that they've done some nice stuff. And I think last year that kind of got derailed, unfortunately, because of the storm, right?
Yeah, Susan talked to the Lowe's management and they all opted not to do, we couldn't find something to do last year.
I would just say maybe proactively we could reach out to them and say, hey, we know you guys like to do this. We're working through our budget this year. What do you, if they're planning to do something, maybe one of these smaller projects they might want to take off the list or something.
Be happy to have that support.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a great community partner. Go ahead, Wayne.
The other one here, I did get asked, and I thought was interesting. I learned the artificial tee line. So at the driving range, just like we were talking about at a regular tee, if you sit there and have hundreds of people hack away at a driving range, you're going to tear that up. So this puts an artificial turf surface in there, which is a lot harder for our golfers to tear up. So that makes it a more resilient driving range. This is the ones I was, the telemetry stuff was in here for the water sewer stuff, so you can talk to everything out there. Basic standard projects in here. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer about what anyone specifically.
No.
I think that takes us to fleet. So everything in fleet, so everything has its life. And so what's on this list now is the replacement. So they've gone through, audited the entire fleet. Certain trucks have certain lives. So let's say you buy a truck and it's got a 7-year life. They don't just automatically request to replace it at 7 years. So some trucks get beat up more than others. Every now and then you have a police car that gets hit by somebody else's car and it's not going to make it its full life, so it's got to be replaced sooner. So what they've done is come in and these are replacements where the general cost of owning, maintaining, and continuing to repair the car costs more money than just getting a new one. So this is a standard fleet replacement going forward. The one thing I'd probably draw attention to in this is that we have done really well at getting good staff in good positions that can get deep into numbers, and I think given Mark and his team time to get in there, the fleet leadership has changed recently, the public works has changed, so we're going to find a way to smooth this some. One of the challenges that you do when you're trying to run government with public money is if you have big spikes. So one year you need $10 million, one year you need 2, one year you need 10. It's just really hard to predict or generate the revenue when your numbers aren't even. So when you get a year where you've got 3 fire trucks and a brush truck, and suddenly you've got an $11 million spike, it would be easier to take our fire trucks and buy them one year, 1 year 3, 1 year 5. Unfortunately, in the past, that hadn't gotten done. So what happens is they're all in such bad shape, we need to get them now, and they have to be ordered with long lead time. So that's led to those vehicles. The VACCon is another large one. And so there were a couple of big price vehicles that all came into this year that drove the totals. A couple of other things you'll see, there's different prices for trucks. Code enforcement doesn't really have any need for special trucks, so they buy the smaller, cheaper ones. We have asked community development. One of the things we've had problems with in hurricanes is they don't have any high water vehicles. Their job is damage assessment. They are supposed to be out immediately after the storm determining what flooded, what's damaged, what's not. They can't get into the flooded areas. So I got public safety vehicles and public works vehicles doing their jobs, protecting people's lives, protecting property, getting trees out of the road, but nobody's driving around because they can't get into the neighborhoods. And so we're left 2-3 days after the storm when the floodwater is received trying to get in there and determine what actually had water in it and what did not. So we've asked them in their replacements to get elevated trucks so that they can get out there just as fast as we can send fire and police out to go analyze what was damaged, so it'll help us in the future. So that's why they have a little higher cost for their replacements. The utilities and public works often have equipment that they're putting into the back, so they need the bigger, heavier trucks to do that.
On some of those fire trucks, those lead times are years, right?
Yeah, 3 years for some of them.
Yeah, which is, and do we pay in full when you order it, or?
It depends on, yeah.
You pay
We
for
just purchased one.
So if it's a $2 million truck, you pay $2 million now, and you might not see the truck for 3 years.
That's correct.
That's what we are right now, yeah.
We just bought one
We need to open up a business on building fire trucks.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
When you get to police, this is the year the lease is up on the motorcycles. We're replacing all the motorcycles, and also the Axon Body camera replacement is coming in. So this is it's a 5-year program, but that's the Axon upgrade there as well. The SWAT van, which really should have been replaced a long time ago. So most of the stuff in police is also standard, but stuff that really needs to be taken care of.
Are we seeing any better return? If you know the answer, great. If not, we'll punt it to another meeting. But when we switch back to the Harley Davidsons on the motorcycles, is there a better return on the market on selling the used bikes? I know there used to be a pretty decent return.
I don't know that. If the chief does, he can.
You can get back
We'll get you in.
No, and actually discontinued the current models, so they sent us a download test of the motor guys wrote them, and those are the motors I'm going to move forward with.
Okay. But then the old bikes go to auction.
If you have questions on anything else in the fleet, let me know.
And these are the totals for the fleet.
And that's why I put the drivers in there, because if you're looking at the trends, you can see it's a spike.
Wow.
So this we put in here, last year, the council authorized additional funding to help with sidewalks to do a little bit more. If you look at the 3-year trend, the first year on the 3-year trend was a little high, but that was back in the day where we had the vendor that wasn't actually doing a lot of sidewalk maintenance, and so we had just had leftover money and we kept putting it in future years, so we were actually able to spend it. Last year, if you remember my favorite MPO projects where all those turn lanes, we were in design, so we have a gap year now. They're not doing any funding of them. Next year they'll be in construction. So the community development transportation projects that you usually see that also share this gas tax revenue, there weren't any this year to use it. So we put all that money that normally is there here. So you actually get a higher amount of money in this line. So we're going to be able to do more paving and sidewalk maintenance without having to contribute out of general fund this year because of the gap we had, leveling off in the funding because of the transportation projects are in a gap year. So we filled that in here. I just wanted you to see where that gas tax money went going forward, because if you want it somewhere different, let us know, but that's where we put it, was to go into this area. All right.
Yeah, 12,500 for the flamingo lights. Can you do that out of that money? That's an
Can't do that out of
internal
gas tax. It's got to help with transportation.
I will tell you.
Okay, it does. It's a light on the road. So
Unfortunately, the dollars to pave a road don't go very far.
no.
Wasn't that long ago, we're about almost $1 million a mile, right?
Now, and this is a Parks and Rec projects just listed, so you can see where they are in various years, whether they're in the design stages. You can tell the bigger numbers are obviously construction. The smaller numbers are for design of those projects, so several of them are underway. I think you're aware we're working with school district to swap land for Horizon and over here at Silver Sands, which is really going to probably help the parents and our staff because they're going to be working out of one field and you don't have to run to different fields if you've got kids at different ages. Pretty good deal. So that'll alter that a little bit, but not much. I think that's a big positive. That also led to some good conversations on what we're doing at Karasi. So between the schools and the Karasi family and ourselves, we may end up with a better deal out there on the west side as well. So we're continuing to work on that before we purchase any land out there. But if all that works well, we probably save ourselves hundreds of thousands and still give the public everything that they wanted to see out there. So all those are going well. Susan was showing me pictures of the depot. They actually have the two cars, the trolley and the caboose and the box car are here in Port Orange, so they'll be at that site before too long. They've started, I don't know if you've started the public meetings on White Place yet, but. Okay, so the meetings are starting to come up with the public to talk about what we're doing in there. So we wanted to make sure there was activity, so we haven't even reached 1 year out of the people voting on the bond.
Right.
And we're ready to go forward with these projects. And then we just show this millage. This is the existing, this is what cities are operating on now. We're in the five from the bottom, where we've been solidly for a while. I don't think DeBerry's a bit weird and unique. They have both FPL and Duke paying a ton of property taxes to them, and they don't provide fire, water, sewer, or police. They contract all of that. So they're a little bit unique situation with their taxes. The other three that have lower millage than us all have massive, very expensive properties on the ocean that are not homesteaded. So they have a whole different tax base. We're the first of the cities where you start finding dominant homesteaded single-family home as your tax base. So we're in pretty good shape. We provide a really good value to the people of this community, having a millage rate that low for all the quality of the services that are provided. The people and staff do a really good job of finding ways to save money or find other people's money to supplement what we have. So as we move forward into July, we're working off of bringing you a budget that leaves the millage where it's at. And trying to work forward. There are some additions or enhancements to service levels, what we'll call them. So you got your carry forward budget, which is the same level of service we did this year carried into next year with inflationary cost. Some estimates in there for union negotiations and other things that are still outstanding. At this point, all the enhancements that have been asked for, if we don't get some extra money, we're going to have a hard discussion because we don't have enough money to pay for all the enhancements without either raising the millage or cutting some of these projects out of here. So we're not there yet. We don't have state revenue estimates on a variety of things. We don't have a final from the property appraiser. He's got a meeting next week. VCAR does this annual property meeting. We're going to go hear what he has to say there. Hopefully end up with a little bit higher. I've seen that happen just since I've been back. He's had a couple of preliminaries that were lower than finals. But just as a heads up, the current working function is to bring a budget at the same millage rate. Right now, what has been requested doesn't fit. So at some point, you don't have to answer that tonight, but it'd either be more to the millage or cut some of the enhancements or cut some of the capital. And do you have anything else you'd like me to cover, Mark, or anything that I have missed?
You covered it broadly, but we are short slightly. So to bridge the gap, we would need to do exactly as the city manager advised, and that would be cut some capital or remove some of the requested enhancements. And so we can cover that at a workshop and discuss maximum millage, which can obviously be lowered, but not raised, and I look forward to that discussion.
So we've got it tentatively set like this at the end of the July 15 meeting. If it's a quiet agenda like this one and you want to do max millage, you can. We've also got the meeting blocked the night or the week after on the 22nd to do max millage if that's what council prefers. So and we'll obviously spend a lot of time providing you information in between. And I just want to look over, is anybody over here having frowns or groan? Anything that I didn't cover or I didn't say accurately so that we don't leave people with the wrong information? So.
I'd love it if all of you got up.
Let me tell you what
I got like 7 things I need to
It's a
go
lot
over.
easier to tell you what I got right than what I got wrong. Yeah.
That staff meeting tomorrow morning would be a little different. So just a comment, and you two will appreciate this probably, is that this is a long process through this, and it gets a little frustrating because we don't know everything we want to know in order to make all of the decisions. And in some respects, it almost feels like it's that baseball game, and you're in the very first innings, and ultimately it all ends up in the 9th inning, 2 outs, bases loaded kind of a thing, because some of the projections just don't come in as we want them as quick as possible to be able to do those in a way that is just somewhat smooth, for lack of a better description. So you have to be a little bit patient. You got to continue to go through this. You got to kind of what if it with the city manager and his staff, and we'll make all of these decisions just as we've done every single year. But it is going to have to be a little bit flexible and patient until we know all of those projections, because they don't come in on our timeline. So,
Yeah.
And max millage, which is due to be submitted, required by law, in usually it's the first couple days of August, is only max. So in the past, over the last decade or so, we've had a couple council members ask, we've set max millage. You can always make us lower it. You can't ever go higher. You can, but it's a really hard process. Nobody does that. People go down. But you don't have to have everything fixed in July. If it's important to you to take more time, you've got all of August. You don't vote on it until September. So in the past, we have been able to do really well in July and get close enough where council will go, I'm really more comfortable with a slightly lower millage, bring back something that gets us there, we come present it to you in August, and you're good. So we'll do whatever you want us to do going forward, whatever is the way that it's preferred by council. But that tends to be what occurs, is that we'll come right up to July with here's where the bottom line is, what do you want to do?
Say that timing again. We'll set the max in August, but we don't vote on it till September.
we'll
Is that
set
what you
it in
said?
July. Statutorily, it has to be done by August, but we'll set it at a meeting in July 15th.
But all you're doing is setting a maximum millage, because they send out the truth and millage to people to give them, this is your worst case scenario tax. So you're just saying we will never tax you more than this. You have the ability to still work on your budget. That fixes your money.
Okay.
At that point, if you say that gives you end up with $60 million in general fund, you can't ever go higher out of that revenue stream. You can find other revenue sources.
When do we vote on the budget?
You vote on the budget in September. You have 2 hearings, and it's going to be a Wednesday night because we're not allowed to vote on the same night as the county or the school district. So we always meet in Wednesday. So it's the Wednesday and after both the first and third weeks in September.
Okay.
So,
And I don't think since I've been on council that we've ever ended up at the max millage that was set initially. So that's your max, and then we just continue to work. down from there. And
One unique thing we do, so we have 2 CRAs. And so the CRAs go through their processes. We do bring you the CRA budgets in August and let you go ahead and vote on them because they don't affect the bigger picture of it. And that way you've got their budgets done so you know what they are to fit into your total budget when you vote. So you're not, if you were to change something on a CRA budget on a night, it would affect everything. Their millage rate ties in, so they stick with you on their millage. So we will bring you the CRAs in August. At this point in time, our CRAs are not, we're not doing a whole lot with the CRAs. So.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Anything
all
else?
I have.
Anything
That's
else
all
for
I
us?
have.
All right, outstanding. Thank you
so much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, council committee reports, item 19. Councilman Foley, will let him catch up on the Volusia Flagler TPO and the Fire Pension Board at the next meeting that he's here. So let's talk about the Police Pension Board. Councilman Green.
We had our regular meeting again last month. Not a lot to report other than the pension plans currently sits at $68,155,304. It's down ever so slightly from the last report, just from fluctuations in the market. The investment consultant that we use, Mariner Institutional, they're going to bring in a emerging markets investor into their equation to try and help go into some other markets and that are a little more performing, if you will. So, but other than that, everything is status quo. There's a couple guys that are going into the drop, but they also have quite a bit of the new guys that are interested in going into the pension plan. So it seems to be healthy.
Anything else?
That's it.
So the General Employee Pension Board met yesterday. Kind of a similar story. The money managers and our financial advisors were in attendance, and kind of the briefing that we were getting is that it's just not a good market time at all right now for us. The pension is in the positive, but just barely at 0.31% for the fiscal year. Down since October 1, at one point, a little over 3.35%. That's about right, wasn't it, Mark? Yeah. Total market value still sits at a little over $37.5 million, but they really caution the rest of this fiscal year. And in fact, at one point he said it's a write-off year. If you just end up at zero, that's actually probably going to be looked upon as a win because the market's been very volatile since this fiscal year. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on globally and economically, and I think that's got some things shaken up. If there was some good news, they seem to feel like the corner is being turned on that, and that the projections for the next fiscal year could be actually really good. So we'll just have to, or he used the phrase very favorable.
Right.
So the pension plans are a long-range, long-term kind of thing. So we have projections that we'd like to meet every year in returns. You don't always get there. Some years you might double them. I mean, I've seen years where we get returns in the 16, 17, 18%. Other years you're at 5, 6, 7%, so forth and like that. But ultimately, through the course of the long one, you just continue to look at that. But the plan is still doing very well, and this is actually a closed plan, so it gets managed and a little bit differently. So we are looking. The board got a little bit of a presentation to look at an opportunity to have a program that would allow the retirees to input in their information and project certain things with their retirement and their pensions. We got to evaluate the cost because now that it's a closed plan, there's only about 50 or so left in that plan, and a lot of them aren't close to retirement age or eligible, so the cost may not benefit us. The kind of the way we've been doing it, where they can request that analysis at a much less rate. It's a couple $100 as opposed to spending $6,000 to $9,000 a year to have this program that maybe doesn't really need it for this particular plan. So we're going to kick that around a little bit more and have some more discussion on that. But other than that, it was a pretty good meeting on that. So
How much is in that fund right now?
37.5 million, a little bit more than that, as of May 1st. So. All right. That's all I got on that. Anything else to come before us tonight? City Attorney's Office? No? Good? Thank you for being here tonight. City Manager? Good? All right, that'll be it for the night. Have a good night.